Good evening, everyone. Good evening. How's everyone doing today evening? This is Akshar here. I'm glad to see you guys has already joined. I love that you guys are saying hello in the chat. It's amazing. Thank you for coming back. I'm going to turn off the music soon. I hope you guys can hear my voice. Good evening, everyone. How is everyone doing today? Perfect. All right. I am hoping that you guys all came with questions today. We discussed a lot in the past few days, so today I was hoping we could start with a small story. And I think one of the things that that I learned from a mentor of mine, I want to share with you because it changed the way I think about doing anything. And the story actually comes from a mentor of mine. He's the one who gave me or made me understand what the success formula is or the wealth formula is. We'll get to the definition of success in a second, but I also want to share the story with you. So the story goes something like this. There was a nuclear power plant, and then, there was something happening in that plant that the engineers couldn't figure out because the output wasn't as I want to say it wasn't as efficient as it should be. So based on that, what they did is they called an expert. The expert had a lot of experience, was a very professional, very well researched, and a very experienced person. So the expert came and he said, I'll be coming for 3 days. So he came the first day. He took a little clipboard and a piece of paper and a pencil, and he would climb up to all these dials and write down some notes and make some calculations. And, he did that for 1.5 days. And towards the end of the second day, he said, we climbed up to a dial. He took a Sharpie marker and he put a circle on that dial and he put an X there. And he says, whatever this dial is getting connected to in the back, if you fix that issue, you will have no issues with the power plant. So lo and behold, the engineers did that. They opened up the dial. They went back there. They fixed whatever had to get fixed. And the power plant was back to full efficiency. So a few weeks later, the manager of the power plant gets an invoice for $35,000. And he's a little perplexed by that amount. So he sends the expert a letter, or an email rather, saying that, hey, you were here for 3 days and you had one Sharpie marker and a clipboard. Could you please itemize this invoice of $35,000 for me? And he goes, sure, no problem. He puts down, on the invoice, he puts down Sharpie marker, $4, $3, clipboard, $2. So he makes a bill of like $10, right? Paper and et cetera, $10. And then knowing which dial to put an X on was $34,990. So the moral of the story is, a lot of people know a lot of things, they do a lot of things, and more importantly, it's the experience that makes a person realize how to do something much faster, much quicker, with a lot more efficiency. And I think that's what leads to success. Especially when people say, oh, he or she was an overnight success and it happened so quickly. And, there's a journey behind it. There's a lot of experience. There's a lot of understanding and learning and seeing things in action for one to know what they're worth. And more importantly, the experience that lets you troubleshoot something much faster. So coming back to this story, this story was given by a mentor of mine. He's a mentor from far away because I never have had the opportunity to meet him. That's Mr. Brian Tracy. So this is one of the stories that I heard from him. I'm sure the story exists outside the realm of him, but that's where I heard it first. And he has a wonderful definition of success. And that definition, very simply put, is doing what has to be done at the time it is supposed to be done, whether you feel like it or not. That is how you achieve success. So today we're going to talk about the core tenets or the foundation of building wealth. Because the only reason I want to become a leading expert in this field and I'm climbing towards that hill is I want to create wealth for families, for people that exist and people that work hard, people that earn money, people that are going day in and day out, and making sure that they're providing their best for the people that they love. So, we're going to talk about the foundation of wealth today. Most of it, I think you guys know, a lot of it is mindset because it comes from a certain understanding. So if you have any questions about wealth building, if you have any questions about what you would like answered, please make sure and put them in the chat. I will try to keep up with both because I think I'm on YouTube as well as Instagram today. But I have them in front of me. I will try to keep up with all the questions that come my way. In the meanwhile, I will also share my screen, and please let me know in the chat if you can see my screen, because that will be something that I'll be writing on. And okay, you can see everything on my screen. Give me 1 second. Let me clear this up a little bit. Perfect. Okay. All right, I'm trying to see if I can. Oh, perfect. There we go. That's what's happening. Oh, okay. Give me 1 second. There we go. Ta-da! All right. I hope you guys can see my screen. If you can see my screen, if you can see the notebook on my screen, that would be great, because that's where I am trying to get you guys to look. Oh, I went away again. There we go. That makes sense. Put that away. Okay. Sorry about that. Still learning how to do lives properly. Awesome. Perfect. If you could just put in the chat your questions or any curiosities you might have, I would love to go ahead and answer those as well during the course of this session. But let's start with that. We talked about the definition of success, right? Let's talk about success in wealth. Now, does anyone know the difference between having money and being wealthy? Can you give me an idea? Can someone please put in the chat the difference between being rich and being wealthy? Right? Someone wrote down here. What was the definition? Oh, the definition of success again was given to me by Mr. Brian Tracy, which is do what needs to get done. Do what needs to get done at the time it needs to get done, whether you, that being the big component, feel like it or not. That is the definition of success. So far, that's what has worked for me in the little success that I've had. In fact, the success that I've had with a lot of ventures. But this is one of the things that really kept me going, especially the times where I was like, oh man, I really don't want to do this. So now let's talk about this. Could you please, in the chat, just give me an idea of what do you know or what do you think the difference is between being rich and between being wealthy? So are you rich or are you wealthy? Or are you both? Or are you none? I don't know. Give me an idea. What's your definition of rich and what's your definition of wealthy? Again, story time. So there's an interesting story. I think it was Michael Jordan or Shaquille O'Neal. I forget which basketball player. He was going to buy a car, and he spent all his money on buying two or three cars. And he called his CPA, and he goes, "Hey, listen, man, I'm wealthy now. I can buy a couple of cars." And the CPA goes, "No, no, no. You're rich. You're not wealthy." And he goes, "What's the difference?" He goes, "Rich is the person who has the money, which is you, but wealthy is the person who signed your paycheck." Um, I like that story because it illustrates something where your money can start making you money, or where your money is growing faster than you can spend it, right? That's what wealth really means. That's what wealth stands for. Money growing faster than you can spend it. Okay, so let's talk about wealth. How do you accumulate wealth? It doesn't have to be a complicated answer. One word answer. You'll understand what I mean. It's a one word answer. How do you accumulate wealth? Anyone? Any thoughts? Think about it. We'll talk in a second. How do you accumulate wealth? Anyone? Give me an idea. Come on. I'm sure you guys know. How do you accumulate wealth? Margins between income and expenses. Okay. One word answer. Okay. All right. Let's just keep this income, right? I like that word, income. Thank you for that answer. Appreciate it. Margins between income. Okay. So when you have an income, you can start building wealth. Now, when do you need to start building wealth? That's a question I get asked a lot. Hey, when do I start? To that, I say, you should have started yesterday, but the next best time is today. So let's talk about the wealth flow. How does wealth flow? Where does your money come from? Where does it go? That's what we call the wealth flow, right? So what is the wealth flow? Wealth flow, very simply explained, is understanding what happens as time goes on, right? So we call this diminishing responsibilities. As when you are a younger person, right? Say you are married or you have kids, or you just got married, you don't have kids, right? You have high responsibility the moment you commit and start a life of an adult. As time goes on, your responsibilities go down. Why is that? Because over time, very simply, you're going to understand that as time passes, your responsibilities start to go downward because your kids are growing older, your family's getting older. Um, Maybe you have enough income where you've saved some money and you've gotten to a point where you don't need as much of an income, right? So this is the law of diminishing responsibilities. Okay, perfect. Now, when you start off, do you start off with $1 million in the bank? Some might actually do that, but what is your income? When your money starts to go up, right? When you're making money, when you start making your own money, not something you inherit, but when you start making your money, what starts to happen? You start lower, but over time, your income needs to go upward, right? Now, this is an ideal scenario, right? So as life is taking you forward, this is time. As life is taking you forward, your responsibility, at least from a financial perspective, starts to go sliding down, right? Excuse my spelling. And obviously, your money, or I shouldn't say even money, what we like to call this is equity, right? Equity can be in real estate, equity can be in any asset that you own. So your equity starts to rise. So this is you starting your life. This is towards retirement, right? So when I say wealth flow, what do I mean by wealth flow? That means this equity starts to or keeps going upward. So this way you get an idea of how wealth flows. In both scenarios, when you are starting over here, you have an income, but you also have responsibility. So to balance that out, there's very little equity built in, right? Because you're purchasing property or you're purchasing a home, you're doing something that takes away equity. But as you start paying off that loan, as you start paying off that car, as you start paying off that house, the mortgage starts to get paid. Your equity starts to build, right? And as that equity starts to build, there comes an equilibrium point, right? That equilibrium point is what? It's basically at a point in your life where your responsibilities and your income have a match. That's when, thank you for that definition, the margins between your income and your expenses start to get bigger. So you have more income, you have higher income, and you have lower expenses, right? That's where, when the equity line takes over, is when you start really truly building wealth, correct? So how does that happen? How does one who, say for example, I'm just going to use an example, you're married, I'm going to use my example, right? You have kids and you have other responsibilities. You have a house, right? You have the education of your kids. What else? Etc. Right? Over here, your kids are graduated college, they have jobs, they've moved on. So now it's just, the two of you, right? The only thing you need here is you still need an income because you're still going to live, right? There's two of you that need an income and maybe some taking care of some medical bills, right? Because as you get old, you need to visit the doctor a little more frequently just to stay healthy, right? So now responsibilities have come down, income has gone up. That's when wealth starts to build. And as wealth is building, you have to now think of a few things. So we actually know how to calculate a certain amount so that you can work towards it, right? Let's go forward. Let me explain that to you a little bit. What we like to call this is, I'm doing a mini version of what we do with our clients. It's called a financial needs analysis, right? Now, in a financial needs analysis, it's a very simple addition subtraction formula. Now, let me give you that formula and then you can ask me questions about that formula. Please make sure you put anything in the chat that you might have a question about, something I'm skipping over, if you don't understand my handwriting, anything, okay? So, what happens when we have that financial needs analysis done? First, we need to understand what kind of debt we own. What I mean by debt is anything from a car loan or a smaller loan, something like maybe you have a college loan that you need to pay off, right? It can be something, maybe you decided to buy a boat. Hey, I don't know, right? These are loans that we consider unsecured liabilities, but that's okay. We take on certain liabilities for the comfort of our families and our loved ones, so that's okay. Let's use an average example of an American, right? I want to say with your college debt, your car loan, etc., let's use a number of, let's say, 50K, okay? That's everything combined. Now, the second component that we have to add to this is income replacement. What do I mean by income replacement? In case something happens, God forbid, and you vanish into thin air, and say you earn around 120K a year, right? What we want to do is replace it for at least 10 years for your loved ones, right? So that's going to be $1.2 million. I just want to make a separate column here so we can add these later. The other thing we want to talk about is a mortgage, because we didn't cover that in the loan portion, right? When I say a mortgage, this can be any amortized schedule of anything you own that eventually becomes yours once you pay the bank off, right? In this case, we're talking about a house mortgage or home mortgage. Um, at least in New Jersey, the prices are crazy. Let me know where I can buy some cheap real estate in the text, or I mean in the chat. New Jersey right now, a little bit of a bubble, right? So let's say I want to say about 450K for a nice house in a decent neighborhood. You know, that's the balance left over. Maybe you bought a $600,000 house, you paid off 150. This is what's left over in the mortgage, right? So over here, we'll just try it. 450. Okay. Now, say for example, we're talking about the education, not your education, of your kids, right? So say 2 kids. I'm just using an average. This is, in my opinion, this is slightly low, but I'm just going to say 200,000 per child's college education. Multiply that by 2. So we're looking at, well, let's make it 250 because I think the national average has gone to 322. So let's make it 250 for easy numbers for me. Again, this is something that we do for our clients based on exactly what their needs are. So that's about 500K, right? This is a formula which we like to call DIME. I don't know if you can see that here, D-I-M-E, right? We call this the D-I-M-E formula, correct? Now you are responsible. Remember we talked about that curve where your responsibilities are high? You're responsible for these financial needs in your household. What is that approximation? 500, so that's 2.2 million, right? Now, if you have this kind of money in the bank right now, we will have to have a separate conversation on how to grow that money and build wealth on that money. But if you don't have something like this in your bank right now, how can we build it? How can we solve this problem, build that solution, right? So when you have the proper analysis done and you know that number, that is your number for your responsibility. Now, when we start to build wealth, we want to make sure our current income has to match the protection for that. So God forbid, if you disappear, who takes over your responsibilities? Anyone? If something happens to you and you have a responsibility of $2.2 million, who takes over your responsibility? Put something in the chat so I know. This is something that we want to make sure we educate our clients on, because you can transfer that responsibility over and still build wealth as time goes on, correct? So what has to happen to your income? First of all, understand this. This is not the money that you have to put in. You only have to put in a fraction of the money from your income to reach here. So we have partial income that goes here so that you can protect yourself and the people that you love, while building wealth. Correct? So now that you have this idea and you have this particular number, the first thing, or one of the first pillars of having or building wealth is making sure that your income increases over time. With today's situation, job market or whatever, a lot of people come to me and ask me, hey, how do I raise my income? That is a question that I answer with one very simple thing. You have to rent something. And when I say rent something, I don't mean rent an object. You have to rent an asset or buy an asset, right? When I say buy or rent an asset, what do I mean? An asset is something that makes you money faster than you can spend it, correct? So what is it? What do people buy in terms of assets? Some people say real estate. Some people say stock market, right? I'm going to put market so I don't get confused. right? What else? What else do you know that is an asset that can get you money? If you have an answer for me, put it in the chat so I know, right? A lot of people will buy a business because somewhere someone said, business people make a lot of money, right? We spoke about this briefly yesterday. Let's touch on it now so we can go over it. You know the 4 cash flow quadrants? You have a job where you're trading time for dollars, right? I'm just going to put time for dollars. Then you have a solopreneur, or like a lawyer or a CPA or a doctor, same thing. Time for a few extra dollars, right? Then you become a business owner, right? Where you start using other people. So it's not, you can make a little bit more passive, but you still have to put some time. You make a little extra money, but it's not fully passive. And then you become an investor, right? Now, when you become an investor, what are you doing? You're taking money and you're growing money by investing in other things. Now, business is not going to be profitable if you don't have the correct system in that business. Anyone who's a business owner in the chat, raise your hand so I know you're a business owner, right? When it comes to this cash flow quadrant, what is an asset that you can buy that is currently profitable that you don't have to give up your job for? That's a question that I have to ask somebody. It's a tough question to ask, but that's the question we have to ask, correct? Now, there is a system. In fact, there's a lot of ways to do this, but there is something that got me started, was a system that I can plug into part-time and help families build wealth. That is how I became a financial professional. This has allowed me to help more people and build wealth for them while building wealth for myself. This is something that I enjoy and I think is my calling in my life. So, that being said, I hope I explained this concept to you about the financial needs analysis and obviously your responsibility and your equity, correct? In all of this, I want to make sure you understand one simple thing. Whatever you do, however you do it, find a way to supplement your income. It can be anything you choose to do. There are a lot of options out there, a lot of shiny objects, a lot of get-rich-quick schemes, a lot of things that will say, hey, overnight you can do a lot of stuff, it's quick, it's the way of the world. No. So I don't know what's out there when it comes to the get-rich-quick side of things, but let me ask you this. Do you truly have a desire to do something where you're helping people and have people build financial wealth, to prove to families, not only prove, but show to families that there is an opportunity like this out there? Well, if you are interested, I am looking, right? I want to make sure that everyone that I speak to, people that I talk to, know about this, hear about this, and definitely benefit from it. I am looking for 6 people in the next 31 days. That, first of all, truly have the desire to help, make an impact, are coachable, right? They can do it part-time, but most importantly, beyond all of this, would love to take action to build wealth. And I mean real wealth. Okay? So I am looking for 6 people in the next 31 days who are willing to build wealth, who want to join a system that is truly the asset that makes more money than I have seen. They say money's in the money business. I have seen it firsthand. I really would like someone to join my team who's interested in doing this. This is not a get rich quick scheme. This is not for somebody who is looking for a job. This is for somebody who truly feels they can make an impact in the world, who truly feels that they have a sense of purpose to serve as well as understand how money flows, how wealth flows. And this is for someone who truly understands that business happens with the right kind of people. You need the right team around you. You need the right people to surround you, to mentor you, to coach you. And if you are willing to be coachable, you have mentors that like you wouldn't imagine, right? I think one of the mentors that most of you know that we talk about a lot, and I have always been a big fan of him, is John C. Maxwell. He's one of our mentors for our entire group, not just through books. So please understand that this is something I do because this is my calling, this is my purpose, and I feel if I can provide more value and more wealth for more families, I have served my purpose. So thank you so much for joining me on this live. It was brilliant and wonderful talking to you all. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chats. Sorry, I didn't see the YouTube chat. Thank you. All right. Well, thank you very much. That's a great compliment. But yes, thank you so much. It was great. Tomorrow actually I'll be coming on live a little later, and we will actually be discussing another strategy in which we build wealth. I'll be talking about one of my clients. I have his permission to do that on showing some of the numbers. I think tomorrow we'll be talking about a product. In fact, we'll be looking at an illustration or maybe the numbers of an illustration where the client was able to put some money aside over time and how it built up. So we'll be talking about wealth building as well as protection for families. If you have any questions, any concepts that weren't clear, anything that I can help you with, anything that you would like to build, my contact information should have been scrolling, but it's not. That's okay. It's not here. Wait, there we go. I think it's scrolling down there. Perfect. Yes. Anyhow, let's go back to this. All right. So yes, you can reach out to me on any of my social media platforms. I am always active on those. You can email me. It's contact@aimfinances.com. Again, I'm looking forward to working with people. I can provide any solution that you are looking for, provided that you are serious to get that solution. There are multiple ways to build wealth, not just one. So if you tell me, hey, tell me one strategy. Well, we spoke about a few strategies yesterday, the market strategy, the fixed strategy, and the index strategy. All three work. It really depends on what you're looking for and why you're looking for it. So tomorrow we'll go over, we'll actually go over a few things because I think one of the texts that I just got was about 529 plans and college planning. The other comment was about retirement planning, 401ks. Yeah, so there's a lot going on. We can discuss any one of those concepts tomorrow. Please tune in again. Thank you so much for joining me live. I hope I was of help and value to you guys. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a wonderful evening, and thank you so much for joining. Any questions, anywhere you want to reach me, this is my social media platform, either on Instagram, YouTube, or you can email me at contact@aimfinances.com, and we'll go from there. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening. And it's the leap year, so enjoy the extra day tomorrow. Thank you.